Welcome back to another video session of Math Matters. This is the fourth video in a series of videos in which we are looking at solving linear algebraic equations. This video may be the most important one in the series. We are going to look at solving algebraic equations that have fractions in them. Fractions are like a big storm in the sea of mathematics for a lot of people, but I hope to show you a way to navigate through them. It takes a little time to do the process, but once you got it, you'll be able to handle fractions. Now granted, you can convert fractions into decimal form using a calculator, and if the fraction converts into a decimal that ends, then there's no problem doing that. However, if the fraction converts into a decimal that runs on and on, then if you round off the decimal, you just introduced round off error. The more that we do mathematically with that rounded off number, the worse the round off error becomes. However, if you learn to work with fractions, you will get an exact answer and you will not get the problem wrong because of round off error. So let's get underway. Let's start with 3/5 x minus 7/3 is equal to negative 17/15. I hope that at this point that you know that to add or subtract fractions you need to have a common denominator. Hopefully you can look at this equation and can see that a common denominator for all three fractions would be 15. However, I want to treat this as if we didn't know, so that we can use this same procedure to work through a problem where it is not so obvious. Let's start plotting our course through this problem. First, find the least common denominator. Build the prime factorization table of all of the denominators. Start with 15. Its prime factors are 3 times 5. Next, do 5. Now 5 is a prime, so we can just put it in the table. Now this is important. Look at where I put the 5. It is in the 5's column. This is different from the way that most textbooks show how to do this, but it is important for how I use the table to help us later on. Next we have the 3. Once again, it is prime, so all we need is the 3. And again, we put it in the 3's column. Don't mix numbers in the columns. Now we look at the resulting columns and bring down a number for each individual column. We have a column of 3's, so bring down a 3. We also have a column of 5's, so bring down a 5. Multiply these together and we get 15, which is the least common denominator for all three fractions. This method works no matter how many denominators you have. Second step in navigating through this equation, we have a choice. Either convert all of the fractions so that they have the same common denominator of 15, or eliminate the fractions altogether. Generally, when I say eliminate the fractions, everyone sits up and takes notice. To eliminate the fractions, first we must be working with an equation. If it is just an expression, then it does not work. We have an equation. There is an equal sign. To eliminate the fractions, multiply both sides by the common denominator that we found, 15. Multiply the left side by 15, and of course if we multiply the left side by 15, we must multiply the right side also. Multiplication principle of equality. To multiply, put the 15 in fraction form, 15 over 1, and distribute. 15 over 1 times 3/5, 15 over 1 times 7/3, and a negative 17 over 15 times 15 over 1. Now let us simplify before we multiply. With 3/5, the denominator is 5. We should be able to reduce it out with the 15. Divide both by the 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1, so it factors out. 15 divided by 5 is 3. What if you didn't know for sure? Go back to the table that we built. We have a denominator of 5. Find the 5 row. Go across. What is missing? The 3. 15 divided by 5 is 3. The missing number is the answer to the division. Now multiply straight across. On the top, 3 times 3 is 9. The denominator is 1 times 1. 9 over 1 is just 9. And 9 times x is 9x. Next, 15 over 1 times 7 over 3. Simplify. First, the denominator is 3 divided by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. It factors out. 15 divided by 3. Go to the table. The number 3 row. What is missing? 5. 15 divided by 3 is 5. Now multiply straight across. 5 times 7 is 35 in the numerator. 1 times 1 in the denominator. 35 over 1 is just 35. Now negative 17 over 15 times 15 over 1. Simplify. The denominator is 15. In this case, we have a denominator of 15 and a numerator of 15. They just factor each other out. We end up with just negative 17. All the fractions are gone, eliminated. Now solve the equation. Get x all by itself. What is happening to x? It is being multiplied by 9, and then that product is subtracted by 35. To solve, undo the addition or subtraction first. So, to undo, subtract 35, add 35. Add 35 to the other side also, addition principle of equality. Negative 35 plus 35 equals 0, which leaves just 9x. Negative 17 plus 35 equals 18. Now, undo the multiplication. Opposite is division. Divide by 9, both sides. Multiplication principle of equality. The 9's factor out, leaving just x. And 18 divided by 9 is 2. X is equal to 2. 2 is the solution for the equation 3/5 x minus 7/3 is equal to negative 17/15. Let us solve one more linear equation that has fractions in it. However, this time we're going to move a little quicker. Remember, you can always pause, rewind, and replay if you need to. Our equation this time will be 1/3 x plus 3/8 x plus 9/2 minus 8/12 x is equal to 0. Now, just like in the last equation, let us find the least common denominator for all of the fractions in the equation. We need to construct the table of primes. This time we have denominators of 12, 8, 3, and 2. The prime factorization of 12 is 2 times 2 times 3. The prime factorization of 8 is 2 times 2 times 2. 3 is prime, so just put a 3 over in the 3's column. 2 is also prime, so just put a 2 over in the 2's column. Now we have a column of 2's, another column of 2's, a third column of 2's, and then a column of 3's. Multiply these together and we get 24, the least common denominator. To eliminate the fractions from the equation, multiply both sides of the equation by the 24, the least common denominator. 24 times 1/3 x. The denominator is 3, and it goes into 24 8 times, and 8 times the numerator of 1 is 8, 8x. 24 times 3/8 x. The denominator is 8, and it goes into 24 3 times, and 3 times the numerator of 3 is 9, 9x. 24 times 9/2, the denominator is 2, and it goes into 24 12 times, and 12 times 9 is 108. 24 times negative 8/12 x, the denominator is 12, and it goes into 24 2 times, and 2 times negative 8 is negative 16, negative 16x. And then finally, 24 times 0, of course, is 0. We have now eliminated all of the fractions from the equation. The next step is to combine like terms. There are 3 x terms that can be combined. Start with 8x plus 9x, which equals 17x. Now subtract the 16x from the 17x, the result is just 1x. But 1x is equal to x in lowest terms. Never leave 1x as an answer because it is not in lowest terms. Both sides of the equation are now in lowest terms. We are ready to solve for x. Undo addition or subtraction first. We have plus 108, so do the opposite operation. Subtract 108 from both sides. Positive 108 minus 108 is 0, and that leaves x on the left side. 0 minus 108 is a negative 108 on the right side. The solution for this equation, x is equal to negative 108. We have made it to the end of this lesson. This lesson was a tough one, but it is a very important one. Remember, pause, rewind, and replay if necessary. For the sake of time, I did not check my answers. Remember, all you have to do is substitute the solution, the answer, back into the original equation for whatever the variable was, then use the order of operations to see if it is true. The big idea to take away from this lesson is, when there are fractions in the equation, eliminate them. Well, I hope that you can still have a nice day.